I'm so glad to see you across the ocean, and I know this is a very special time. We are in Beijing, and in brief, Luxe.CO, we are China's leading business media for fashion, luxury, and lifestyle for about 7 years. Actually, we've been following the development of Allbirds ever since 2015 or 16, actually. And it's been a very phenomenal D2C brand. And since we cover a lot of D2C brand, we know how difficult it is to start from 0 to 1. And so I'm very curious to know that why do you think Allbirds can gain such a phenomenal success in such a short period of time, starting from internet?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and it's a real pleasure to speak with you. And we've heard about, I've known about your publication for quite a while, and our team speaks very highly of it. So it's a pleasure to be on. So yeah, I think uh, there was an era of brands that started, and they were called D2C brands. But I think in reality, what they were was a normal story around cut the middleman out, so you avoid the wholesale distribution channel, and you take a product and you make an equivalent quality product, and you put that and you sell it directly to consumers on the internet, and essentially you're giving the consumer a price benefit, and you're taking out that distribution margin. And I think that was a model that was started kind of in late 2000s in the United States, and maybe 2010, 2011. When we started the business at Allbirds, I think that had passed, and we really believe that the vertical retail model is a really fantastic model, but that's all it is. It's a distribution model. And yes, you can give the customer more value if you take that model, but there's a lot of inherent challenges with going direct to consumer, such as growing market awareness and getting to enough consumers so that you can actually make a difference. And so I think when we had that perspective, and we believe that the only way to be a successful business, forget about the sales model being DTC, to be a successful business, we had to really innovate and make something truly differentiated that the consumer cares about. And Tim was a design background and a professional athlete. He's my co-founder, and I come from a material science background, looking at solving the problem of the environment and climate change through innovation. And so when we decided to connect those two things, we realized we had a really interesting opportunity to create very different and distinct products that felt great to consumers and were just better products. And then we coupled that idea of better products with a better distribution model. And so knowing that we could connect directly to consumers meant that we could, for a product that we could sell for $100 US, for example, a competitive brand would have to sell that for 140 in terms of giving the retailer that it sold through some margin. And so we did have a value advantage for consumers. We also had a better product. And then we had the third leg, which was a purpose around the business, and that we were really driven around the idea for environmental conservation. And so I'd say squeezing those three aspects of our business made the model so successful. And so that's like from a strategic perspective, and it's a kind of a very academic or strategic answer. And to put it in like really simple terms, we had an amazing product. It looked visually distinct on the street, and people loved it when they got their hands on it, and they started telling their friends. And so honestly, if I could nail, like, there's no real one single bullet. I think they all matter, what I just said. But the fact that it was on people's feet, people loved the feel, and they wanted to tell their friends, that obviously contributed massively to our early success.
Thank you very much. I'm very impressed by the points you emphasized on the product, not just the business model, but the product. But to us, I think Allbirds goes beyond that it's building a very strong brand. as you mentioned, it's a brand of purpose. And I know that behind it, you did a lot of research and you bring out a lot of sustainable new materials into the shoe production. So how do you communicate such a sophisticated idea about sustainability? And people may buy into the idea of comfortness, but about the sustainability and all that matters to the earth, how do you communicate that? And I'm especially curious on when you come to abroad, like to China, how do you communicate that idea and emphasize the brand's ambition and your old ideas?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, we've learned a lot of lessons on the way on this. I would say that what we're making has a resonance globally, and we found that consumers love us in every region that we sell. However, when we're really successful in a region, it's because we've truly tailored the message to something that is makes sense and is in the cultural zeitgeist of that region. So, you know, for example, in Europe, when we're talking about our purpose, there's a lot of emphasis around reducing plastic waste. And so in those markets, sometimes we emphasize attributes of our product, like the fact that our laces and some of the synthetic materials are come from plastic recycled water bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a place like in the United States, people are a little bit more understanding of, say, carbon emissions and climate change. And in China, what we're finding is this idea of harmony with nature and the idea of natural-based innovation is something that is very attractive to the Chinese consumer. And we've put so much research and development into creating truly unbelievable both textiles and some of the foams for the bottom of the soles, and it makes the product feel incredible. And this is through a true process of research and innovation, and we just happen to constrain that to natural materials. And so we emphasize in China something more of this super premium quality, where we maybe tell the story a bit more about how much we've spent on and how much energy we've put towards innovation on these natural materials. And so it's just, you know, these are all authentic and similar messages across the world. It's just about making sure that we talk to the consumer in language that really resonates with them based on what's happening in those local markets. And so we found that we've had to really learn and listen to the consumer and go into people's homes and understand what they're doing in order to position that message correctly.
Yes, we have found that the biggest slogan on your website is adventures in natural material. So I think starting from wool, you're going further and brings a lot of maybe never heard before material to the shoe market. So is there a roadmap you have drawn going from here to there, and what's your future plan blueprint?
Yeah, look, I mean, we think we can take the approach that we've done with first casual shoes, and as of recently in more athletic performance shoes, and we can take the same recipe that we've approached those markets and do it in a number of other opportunities. And I think the most significant and obvious adjacency is in apparel. And what we're really looking to do is round out our consumers' life with the things that they really care about, that are going to enable them to continue their lives of health and well-being, to get around Beijing and walk through the city and do some exercise, while also looking good and feeling good about the product that they're in, not just because it's got this incredible touch and feel to it because we've used such luxurious materials, but also because it makes them feel good that the purchase that they've made is contributing to society in a positive way. And that combination, we think there's opportunities in different materials that we've identified and are in our research and development pipeline and product development pipeline. We think there's a lot of opportunities that are just going to delight people. And so I think if you come to our store in well, a number of them across China, but or our Tmall site, I think you'll find that there's a very cohesive there's a very cohesive mix of products, all built on incredible natural materials that we've spent a lot of time on research and development, and they weave together very nicely. And those, I think, those are the kinds of products that you'll continue to see with us.
Thank you very much. And actually, I have a few pair of them already.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I'm also very curious because coming from a DTC background, based in America, now you are venturing globally. In building up a global team, have you found any challenges, and how do you overcome, and how do you make sure that as you grow bigger, you stay true to your original spirit?
Oh yeah, I think I've talked about a few of the challenges. Being global and being so young in our life. I mean, look, we're 4 years old. We started in March of 2016, and we launched simultaneously in New Zealand and in the United States back in March of 16. Um, and I'd say one of the things that we've always aspired to be is, we're tackling what we consider to be a very global problem. This is a problem of climate change, and we're doing it in product categories that have universal appeal, being footwear and apparel. And um, and I would say that one of the things we've really tried to do, and an example of this is in our team in China. We've tried to learn from all of the markets, from both the consumer as well as what our team is doing in those markets. And so I would say we've aspired to be a global brand from very early on, because we thought it would just make us a better company, rather than being a great US brand that then, built the brand up and sold in China later. What we're actually finding is that we are using really cutting edge technology for what I think is often referred to as new retail in China, where we're looking really at the customer journey across both digital and in physical retail. And we're connecting those experiences in a really unique way. We're interacting with customers from our store staff through live streams. And we're using a whole bunch of very leading edge technology that I think has even leapfrogged a lot of what we do in the US. And we're learning from those experiences, and we're taking those back to our home market in the US, where we have a much bigger market, and we're applying those learnings. So I would say, of course, there's challenges in being global, and there's localization challenges and supply chain complexity, and we're dealing with all that. I feel comfortable with all of that. It's the benefits here that have been so surprising, and that we're learning so much from the technical innovation in China, for example, and being able to apply that globally for the rest of our markets. That's been a really welcome surprise. And I would say that the team in China just adds culturally to our mix, and that we have a great experience being a global company with a very diverse perspective and a diverse way to look at what's happening in the world, and we can respond effectively because of that.
Thank you very much. And finally, I have a very generic question to ask you, because there are lots of young entrepreneurs in China venturing into all kinds of new innovations in fashion and lifestyle. And they all have problems struggling to getting from 0 to 1, maybe 1 to 10. Do you have some suggestions to them that from out of your experience, that how to not just to ensure success, but become something that you really stay true to your original belief and develop your idea into a product, then into a brand?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a couple things. Look, I think, and I only have a limited set of experiences, so I'll reflect on just my own experiences. But one of the smartest things that we did as a business when we started, 3 months after we launched, so June of 2016, we sat down with 10 people that were on our team, and we wrote a vision for what Allbirds looked like in 2026. So that was 10 years in the future. And we looked, and we put ourselves in the summer of 2026, and we looked backwards, and we said, what has happened over the last 10 years? And we wrote this 3-page story of what we did and what we strived to accomplish. And it forced us to think really big. And it also forced us to write down with conviction what we would do and what we would not do. And it really helped set some strategic parameters for the business, so that when people came into our business, they really understood why we were making the choices that we were making, and then allowed them to be effective much more quickly. So I think that really helped the culture, and it also helped us and forced us to articulate our strongest convictions and the things that were non-negotiables. We had to write them and commit them to paper, and hence I think it really helps you keep keep reminding yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. So as you strive and go through the hardships of going from 0 to 1, so to speak, that you understand and you have the philosophy, and everyone has a shared vision of where you're heading. So I'd say that's something that's really important. And then the second thing I would just say is something I really live my life by, and we've modeled how we plan in Allbirds, is if you're gonna fail super fast, and if you're gonna succeed very wildly. It's the in between that's really dicey and challenging. And so I would just urge any budding entrepreneur to think big, write down your convictions, and then take a really big attempt at achieving those big ambitions. And if you fail, it's okay. And I have the good fortune of being in Silicon Valley, where failure is not perceived as a negative thing, and I understand that that's maybe different in different parts of the world. But I think in this entrepreneurial culture, having some scars it can actually serve you really well. And so I think that's it's a recommendation with global appeal.
Thank you so much. I will definitely write down my vision afterwards. Thank you so much. And I think we have to, so it's so pity that we have such a short period of time. And I hope to see you later, either physically in China or in US, or also from online. Thank you very much
I
again.
hope so too. And thanks so much for having me. Nice to speak
Thank
with you.
you. Bye-bye.